I'll start. Let's do. We couldn't decide who's going to start. I will. This is the Racin It Out podcast. This is Caitlin. I'm Todd. Thanks for coming back and joining us again. If you haven't already, please make sure you're following us on the social channels of the Instagram and the Twitter and the Facebook. It's all here for you because, sometimes we put things up. I always tag the Racin It Out account and stuff that I do at the track. If I have pictures or stories or whatever, I like to tag the Racin It Out account so people get a little taste of what we're experiencing.
I try to retweet it.
Yeah, it's nice, but we have like your background photo is excellent because that's one of the things we're going to talk about is the finish at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park this past weekend. But we should also do you want to go back to the first race of the year first and
we should probably
Sunset?
go. Yeah, we should probably recap the last couple weeks.
Chronological order.
Order.
All right. So you know what? First of all, let me say, because I experienced it again at CTMP as well as the first race. Love all the fans that have come out. We had
CTMP was amazing.
Great crowds at both races. And I'm really happy. I had a lot of people say, hey, hi, how are you? And just like saying hello. And it's nice to have you back. And it's nice that you're here. And we're really looking forward to the show. And it was good shows at both the events. So first off, thanks for everybody for coming out and spending your money and coming out to the races. It is greatly appreciated. I appreciate it. And I'm glad that when you see one or both of us, you say hello and we can stop and chat for a second, if maybe more than a second if we have more time. But I really enjoyed that part of the first couple of races.
Yeah, I was actually like absolutely blown away. I don't think I've seen a May long weekend CTMP race as busy as this past weekend because it was like I was blown away. It's like when we we were on the starting grid and I look up and I'm just like, there's so many fans.
Look at the crowd. This is awesome.
Oh my gosh. Like camping was absolutely packed. Even turn 5, Moss Corner was insane. Like there were fans everywhere. And it was a drastic difference from the Saturday to the Sunday.
Yes. And it's sad that the Pinty series never made it out on track on Saturday, but that would have been a gong show if that happened.
I'm not sad about it.
No. So the other series did go out. The FEL Radicals and sports cars were out, put on some good races and stuff. But the Pinty's activity got going on Sunday. But before we do that, we talked about doing Sunset first. So let's talk about Sunset first, which was great. Again, good car count, 21 cars. It was really nice. Some good racing. Lots of action through the field. There was a long green flag run right at the start. What did Trayton lap up to, like 8th or 9th position or something early on?
I'm not 100% sure, but he had lapped like quite a few. And you're right. The first half of that race, it's all coming back to me now. I'm like, my brain's just filled with CTMP, but now I'm like, oh yeah, Sunset. It was based on how quiet it was in that first half. I knew the second half was going to be an absolute just roll your eyes ridiculous.
Cracking. Yeah, it was good. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of activity. There was stuff going on. There was drivers making 3 lanes when really only 2 were possible, and a bunch of stuff. But it was great. It was lots of excitement. I didn't find the cautions to be overly long or drawn out for the most part at Sunset. I think the show was good, and we had a dramatic finish. I saw some people say that it was a green-white checker, but I didn't think it was. I thought it was 3 laps at the end.
I think it was as well. I'd have to go back and check, but because it's hard to determine because it's like a green-white checkered is considered like an overtime finish, kind of.
Yes, and
it's like,
and this didn't go beyond the
no, it was
100
distance. And like I'm pretty sure we went back to green with 4 laps to go.
Right.
I think we had 2 green laps, then the white, then the checkered.
Right.
Because Trayton took the green, did a lap, then Gannett. Yeah, I think it was 2 greens.
So we had the only real lead change in those last few laps where the 96, Marc-Antoine Cameron, the 3 of Alex Gannett, And let's not forget about the 74 of Kevin Lacroix,
Yeah, he snuck up in there.
who also kind of swarmed the car of Trayton Lapsevich, who lost the lead, but he got it back before the checkered flag. So give me your thoughts, your impressions on that last lap pass.
I mean, I think Gannett left a little too much room on the bottom. Trayton took advantage of it.
I agree with you.
I think it was a textbook bump and run.
See, I don't.
No,
I would not
even
refer to it as.
No, it's not a bump and run. I think CTMP was a bump and run.
What you have on the screen behind you was the bump and run.
This was a bump and run.
But Sunset, and I will go back to fall of 2021 in the first of 3 races at Delaware Speedway, where Trayton was running first.
Yeah.
And left a little bit of an opening on the inside, and the 17 of DJ Kennington stuffed it in there and took the lead and the checkered flag. And Trayton was none too pleased about it afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, Trayton was going for his first NASCAR win, so to think he had it in the bag. But Gannett also has only has 1 win. He's starting out a new team this year. He wants to prove that he's dominant.
Right.
He wanted to probably win just as bad as Trayton did back in Delaware in 2021. And I think Trayton has learned how to. I think Trayton probably empathizes a lot more with DJ in that moment.
Yeah, I think he has a better understanding of it now than he did at the time. And I'm not, slagging on anyone for what they did, because there's an opening. You're going to take advantage as much as you possibly can. He didn't drive the 3 car into the fence. No. He finished second.
Gannett knew he left too much room.
That's right.
Trayton was coming, and he made a mistake and left too much room. And they were both very cordial after the race. And like Gannett came up and congratulated him on social. They were both showing a lot of respect. And it's like, it's just Gannett took responsibility for leaving too much room, which I think is very, very, very amazing sportsmanship, and I love to see it.
100%. And I think if you go back and show Trayton the 21 race now, he'd say, yeah, you're right. Okay, there was a little bit of an opening. And I think he'd have a different perspective on it now.
100%, yeah.
So jumping ahead to CTMP, once again, Trayton ran a great race to, first of all, run down the 2 cars that were ahead of him, the 59 of Gary Clute and the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron.
Yeah.
Really great job in those final few laps to get himself back into contention for the lead, because he didn't have it till very late.
He didn't. He really didn't. It was, I want to say, with like maybe, because I think I was at the start and finish line with maybe like just less than 10 to go. And I was like, oh, Cameron has like a lead. Like he is leading. And then he was leading with 2 to go. And then the white flag came out and Trayton was right on his ass. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna get interesting. And then I didn't see them until turn 10 when I saw Marc-Antoine Cameron. Which hand do I want? Come out of this turn, wrong way, and then end up in the grass. Oh my God, there.
Yeah, he was hanging on to keep it off the wall. And you know what? That's a great job by Mark to do that.
Because I thought I saw him go wide and I'm like, Trayton, this is not how I wanted you to get your first win. But he kept it, because I thought, we look back last year to the same race last year where Lacroix did basically the same thing to Clute. But
it was a little earlier, but it started a little bit earlier, but because Kevin caught him earlier.
Yeah, it started in turn 9 instead of turn 10, but it sent Gary into the wall, and Gary had to massively overcorrect to try and even get a decent finish, and he did. But it's like those moves are so very easily can go wrong.
Well, and so Trayton nudged him, and you could see that there was a little spot on the car where the contact occurred, because I see it up close in Victory Lane.
Same.
And this is now an acceptable form of racing as far as the way NASCAR is officiated. You can nudge someone out of the way for position, be it in the last corner, if you have to get close enough to them, but this is an acceptable form of passing.
Mm-hmm.
The question becomes, should it be an acceptable form of passing? I mean, did it really start with the trucks back at CTMP when we had drivers plowing each other out of the way on the last lap of every race? See, I don't care for that. If you catch someone, get by them. I don't, and short track is different than road course because you are going to nudge people when you're on a short track.
Yeah.
But this is different. And
yeah, it's like
there's a line that you cross as if you touch someone, I'm not going to freak out, but it depends on how hard you hit them. And everybody's got their own interpretation of what's too big a hit.
Right. Because it's like, maybe there's just a different level of, I guess, like sophistication when you go to events like road courses and street courses and such, where you have so many opportunities to get to their insides. Whereas, like you said, on short tracks and ovals, you are probably right there the entire time and you have somebody on your butt and, bump and runs. Because the bump and run was born on short tracks and it's migrated to street and road courses and also dirt. But
well, and a bump is one thing, a punt is quite another. And that's
what would you call Trayton's then?
Oh, he nudged him out of the way. He nudged him out of the way so that he could complete the pass before getting to the checkered flag. It's a last lap, last corner. Right. I don't think, Trayton could have easily driven him hard enough that he sent him into the wall. He didn't.
Yeah.
So for that, he gets credit.
Yes. And he even said that in the post-race press conference of, I didn't want to wreck him. I didn't want to send him into the wall. I wanted to nudge him just a little bit, because he very easily, as we saw last year, kind of just drive into him. But I think it was a textbook bump and run. Mm-hmm. But you ask a good question. Should they be allowed on road courses? Right.
As to what's the degree of contact that's going to, because now here's the off the top of my head question. When's the last time you saw someone penalized for rough driving? I can't even tell you.
I want to say it was like 2019. When was the last time LP
Ranger and Lacroix maybe was the last one.
I want to say whatever that race was that LP ended up winning against when Ranger drove into Lacroix in turn 5, whatever that
possibly
race was.
But again, was the bump that Ranger had on Lacroix different from the one that Kevin had on Gary Clute last year? It's so close. It's so difficult. Yeah. This is the hard part of officiating any sport, whatever it is. You don't know the force, and it's hard to judge exactly what the force is. You don't know how each driver is going to react, which is going to be different. So
that's very true, because it's like, if you have the team walking into the hauler after the race demanding it to be overturned, then you have a different story. It's, when two drivers, and Cameron was very cordial afterwards. I heard that some people say he was a little heated, but it's like, anyone's going to be heated. Like Gary was also super just emotional after the race. Like he wants that win so bad, and I want to see him get that win so bad. He's been so close at CTMP so many times. But Cameron was very cordial with Trayton after the race, and he was like, it's a long season. We'll see what positions we can get into that we can monopolize on, but no hard feelings. It's racing.
And he probably would have done the same thing, he said.
Oh, 100%.
And that's where it lies. Anyhow, I don't know that we reach a conclusion, but it's just, these are things I think we keep an eye on and watch and think about is going forward, because it shouldn't be a free for all and anything goes. There has to be rules. You're 100%
right. But I also don't want it to become a case of drivers being afraid to go for the win, because it could be seen as like wrecking, because it's like finishes like this and finishes like Sunset they're so much fun, and you love being able to stand up and scream for that finish. It's which could bring us into our next topic, which was North Wilkesboro last weekend. But
so you're right. So does that does Kyle Larson spanking the field. This is where you get into, well, it wasn't a fun race. It wasn't a good race that, he was so dominant. It happens sometimes.
Yeah.
You're going to have, you can't manufacture a finish that's going to be within a tenth or a couple of tenths every time under a green flag condition.
Yeah.
This is why I have, reservations about the whole overtime thing. Is like, you're trying to manufacture a finish in a sense because you want it under green, but I don't think that's the correct way to approach it.
I don't think it's hard because it's like, I feel like there's a large population of the fan base that kind of only comes to see the big ticket action.
Sure.
And, you go to North Wilkesboro, and I feel like a lot of people were really hoping for like short track racing.
Right.
But, you look at our own history and Pinty's, and 2 years in a row, Alex Tagliani spanked the field at Sunset.
Yes.
You're right. It just happens sometimes. And I feel like, didn't we have a race last year where we had a driver just completely dominate the race? It's like, I can't remember.
Brandon Watson at the finale.
That would have been it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, he didn't lap the entire field basically like Tagliani did.
No, but
it happens.
That's exactly it. So,
but you can't go from 1 year. And I think it's human nature to kind of take recent events and put them at the forefront of, decision making of, you have 1 year where the race is action packed and it's so much fun and it's just like the closest finish in NASCAR history. And then you have the next year where somebody spanks the field. Well, are you going to come to somebody and say, I don't want this track on the schedule anymore? Chances are you're going to say you are, because the most recent memory you have is seeing a boring race.
Recency bias. Yes.
So
I agree.
Give North Wilkesboro another chance. I'm sure it'll be back on the schedule at some point, whether it's the All-Star race next year or the Cup schedule, who knows, or Trucks or Xfinity or whatever. Give it another chance.
And this is why I think the racing evolves a little bit too, is that you need to have different tire compounds, and you need to have maybe skip years, and instead of having 2 races at some tracks, you only have 1, that kind of thing. And maybe it's a bit of a fluid schedule where you don't go to a track every year necessarily. It shakes things up and makes the outcome a little bit more unpredictable, which I think everybody would be in favor of.
Which NASCAR Cup has historically, been kind of confined to those like cookie cutter tracks that you see, like the 1.5 miles, and they're really starting to branch out, which is nice. So they could get to a point in the next 5-10 years, maybe even sooner, where their schedule can be a lot more fluid. And, they have like 5 rotating like dates that are at different tracks every single year. And, they'll go to shorter tracks, or maybe they'll do like, they've got their dirt races. And so it just keeps things fresh and different and new.
At the same time, which we like new and trying new things, there are the classics, the traditions that we love. And this weekend is 3 of them.
The triple crown of racing, ladies and gentlemen.
Formula One in Monaco in the morning, the 107th running of the Indianapolis 500 in the afternoon, thus the bricks on my background, and the Coke 600 in the evening at Charlotte. And you can be a total sloth and just lay around and eat snacks all day and watch racing.
This is our Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a very good way. And yes, and there is no pregame show. It is all racing all day.
You
long.
wake up and you're like, get the Red Bull, ladies and gentlemen. It is go time.
No. So you'll get up and it's Monaco, so you're having champagne mimosas is what you're doing.
Oh, Todd, so I like the way you
this is
think.
way. So now, and then you get into the afternoon and you've got different food and different stuff, and then you'll have, maybe a drink. In fact, I was reminded of it today, and because and there are Brazilian drivers, and there is a Brazilian drink called the caipirinha, which is fantastic.
What is it? Tell me.
Caipirinha.
Well, what's in it?
Rum and more rum. and sugar. It's really good. And then, you know, by the time you get to the evening, you're cruising. So, you know, you're having a couple of beers or something.
I just had
you
to
can
run
just
through
kind
my
of do the whole
brain.
day.
I had to run through my brain. Beer before liquor, never been sicker. Liquor before beer, you're in the clear. Because I was like, can you do beer in the evening after you've had mimosas and rum? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, yes, you can.
I don't know. I think it's all about pace too. I think is what you really need to look at. But it's exciting. The Formula One cars, are they suited to the Monaco streets now? No, but it's great.
Yeah, we
tradition.
had this conversation last
year.
Yeah,
the Indianapolis 500. There is nothing like the spectacle of that. And
I want to go to it so bad one day.
It is
next year.
It is a life-changing experience. It's great and stuff.
Next
so
year.
I won't be there. Yeah. I will be at Detroit the following week because I am working there, which I'm really looking forward to because it's a terrific event. It is one of the best run events I've ever been at. They have
what makes it so
volunteers. It's super well organized, and the volunteers here's the unique part about it. You pay to volunteer in Detroit. You pay a fee. I think it's $20. You pay a fee to be a volunteer at the IndyCar race in Detroit.
Interesting.
Because what you get back in, you know, swag and food and stuff like that goes into a far greater value than the $20. But it makes people invested, and I find that it's a really good. So
you're not going to get any just like schlum off the
people
street.
that are going to be lax and not show up or whatever. So because volunteers are very important to the success of these
100%.
So it's a terrific event. Before we get too far ahead, though, I got to tell you a couple stories.
Oh yes,
of driving back.
Todd's traffic stories.
So I should have done this earlier when we were talking about driving, but anyhow. But I was driving back after CTMP, and you know how when you maybe go away camping or you go away on a weekend and stuff, there are these moments of family bonding or traditions that are born and stuff that happen on little trips and holidays and stuff. So I'm thinking of this particular occurrence in this way. So I'm driving back and I get slowed down on a little bit on the 401. Not terrible, but I get slowed down a little bit.
As you do.
And there is a minivan pulled off to the side of the road. And as I'm approaching, I see that there is a father, what I believe to be a father and a son, standing on the other side of the minivan away from the highway. And both of them are arching a perfect fire hose stream of pee into the ditch below.
You could see that driving?
I could, clear as day, I could see that driving. It was the funniest thing I have seen in a long time. It's just,
that dad trained his kid to do that.
This is what I'm saying. This is a memorable family moment. So they have this perfect, and I'm just, I'm laughing. So, and I don't think, so this amuses me for quite some time on my drive. Later on, I did get slowed down near, because there was a crash on the 401. So I did get slowed down for a couple minutes. And you know how when people are driving and the weather's, kind of nice, it's not super hot or anything as it was on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You put the windows down.
Yeah.
And the driver, particularly guys, will kind of rest their elbow on the door and have their hand resting on the roof of the car.
Mm-hmm.
Well, dude in this car was doing that, but he had the seat leaned back a little bit. Well, maybe more than a little bit. I don't know how tall he was, but he had to be pretty tall because he's got his elbow on the door, his hand on the roof, but it's out the back window behind the driver's seat.
So he's got it like cupped.
So he's not he's just sitting there like normal, like I'm just here driving, and like the post of where the door separates, like how tall are you, man? He was
trying to get a good stretch into that shoulder.
But I thought, this is really strange. But anyhow, these are the things you see on the road trips, and this is why it's fun to go to the races. So I don't know. It just really struck me.
I have a 10-hour drive to Chaudière in
there
3
you go.
weeks. You fly, you lucky son of a gun.
We're flying, yes, but there's a drive from the airport, so you never know what you're gonna.
This is true, and Quebec is a whole different story.
Yeah,
of drivers.
It'll
But
be fun. It'll be exciting and
I need to
interesting.
pay more attention when I drive to the things going on around me. I'm
I
more in my own head.
This was really funny, but because it was just, it was just like, it was like the water show at the Bellagio. Just the, it was way too funny.
The water show at the Bellagio.
Made me laugh.
God.
Made me
Oh
laugh.
my
Just,
God.
but you're right. This was learned behavior. This was like, son, this is how we do it at the side of the road because the exit's too far to get to for a rest station.
Father-son bonding.
These are the moments that will last a lifetime.
Can't relate, honestly.
No, I can see how that would be a different thing for you, but
yeah.
Anyhow, so do we have any real food? I did not eat at unique little places for either of the first two races, but I do have a place I can recommend if you want to talk about food.
Sure. I don't really have any either. I went to Jack Astor's and Kelsey's and a couple pubs while in Bowmanville, but they're like your standard sports bars and grills. And there was one I actually just remembered now. For my roommate's birthday, we went to see a magic show a couple of weeks ago.
Ooh.
I think it was right before sunset. It was much fun, and it was all like and it inspired us because I think now we're going to try and plan a trip to Vegas.
Nice. You can see the water show at the Bellagio.
Yeah, that's what sparked my. But I was severely heartbroken because I got brought up on stage, and I saw the trick and like how he did the trick, and I'm like, this has just ruined it for me, and I feel so sad now. I'm so sad.
Sorry.
But I was like, it's a very cool place. It's at Lula Lounge on Dundas Street in Toronto. Right. Very cool place. I found the menu a little overpriced. But the show was like, it was super cool, and I've been to magic shows since I was a kid.
I'm not a big fan of the magic.
I'd be cool to see one in Vegas. I feel like maybe
I don't know, a
spectacle. But
I'm not. Yeah, but that's the only shows.
That's the only place I've been. So they also do a drag brunch.
Yep.
So I'm like, ooh, that'd be kind of fun to do.
Love the brunch.
Yeah.
So just before sunset, we went to see Hamilton, the musical, at Princess of Wales.
I hate you.
I'm sorry.
I've been waiting years.
Had tickets to go pre-pandemic. Show gets canceled and everything. So it's like, finally 6 months ago, it's like, oh, there's tickets. So I got tickets just in advance of sunset, and had seen the show, watched it on Disney Plus because that's where it was available, and really enjoyed it. And for us, it didn't hamper the enthusiasm for the stage production at all. I love theater.
So that's good to know. I also love theater, as we have talked about many times, but I have been waiting and I've listened to the soundtrack. I have like half the songs memorized. Like I know the gist of Hamilton, but I have been waiting. I have not seen the Disney Plus version, like the original version on Disney Plus, because I've been waiting to see it live. Because
go.
I have to now. They convinced me.
It is. They've extended the show. It is fantastic. The cast was sensational. The staging, the production, the music. It's a spectacle. It's overwhelming.
So
it's great.
Now that I'm gonna plan this as a date night for my boyfriend and I, where should we go for dinner?
The suggestion I will make. We just went. We're looking for one spot, but it was full, and so we went to Hey Lucy. Just like, it's called Hey Lucy after the old TV show, Hey Lucy.
Oh, Lucy.
It's right on King Street. Had caprese salad, fantastic. Pizza, terrific. Super
Where's Hamilton? What building is Hamilton in? What theater?
Princess of Wales.
What did I think it was in Mirvish? I don't know.
No, Princess of Wales Theater. So walk right down the road, you're in. It was
I know this I know this place.
It was right. The Kit Kat Club used to be, I think, right next door, which it's closed apparently. But it was too bad because it was great.
I loved Kit Kat.
Yeah, it's right in that vicinity.
Okay, I'm adding this to my want to go thing on Google Maps.
There you go.
So I remember. But no, I will definitely make a plan to do that when I'll look at tickets and see when I can go, because I love theater. When we went to
love big shows, and it's so good. So
When,
it's such an entertaining night.
When we went to go see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child for my birthday in November, it just like reinvigorates the love for theater like so easily. And it's like, then we were obsessed with Wicked for a bit. And
yeah. So do you know what, and I don't know if I told you it was about a year and a half ago, went to New York for a concert. And it's like, okay, well, we're there a couple days. It's like, let's go to a show.
Yeah.
Because, Broadway was kind of getting started again. So we went to see To Kill a Mockingbird.
Ooh.
Which was, it was fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's never been a play before. And the play is very different in terms of how it's presented than the movie or the book.
Interesting. Because
the kids are grown up. And that's all I'm going to say. And you don't think you think immediately like, how does that work? You get past it in the first 2 minutes. Honestly, Aaron Sorkin wrote it. It's really, really good.
I barely remember To Kill a Mockingbird. Oh, if it tours and comes to Toronto.
I believe it's touring. And so, yeah, it is well worth it. Go on.
100%. Yeah, I don't think I would remember To Kill a Mockingbird that well for it to impact my experience watching it.
Brilliant movie. Gregory Peck was fantastic. Jeff Daniels played Atticus Finch on Broadway, so it was really
cool.
Good.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up after we finish recording so I can see if it's coming to Toronto.
Good.
And then maybe you can go see it again.
I would, in a heartbeat. I would. Yeah, go. Absolutely. Yeah, cool. So good. Love the theater like that. So actually, what we're trying to organize, haven't done it yet, is Spamalot is playing at Stratford. The Monty Python or Eric Idle wrote a musical.
Yeah. Oh.
So there you go. So many shows. Our interests are wide and varied, not just in motorsports.
Yes, and this podcast is wide and varied.
It's funny how that happens every time we record.
This is basically just the Todd and Caitlin talking it out podcast.
I'm good with that myself. I'm quite comfortable with that.
This is just an excuse for Todd and Caitlin to get together so we can chat about our many mutual interests.
Exactly.
Food, theater, racing, and I'm sure there's many others out there.
And interesting things that you see in traffic. That sort of sums up this episode. Okay.
Yeah.
The thoughts, ideas, opinions expressed by Todd and Caitlin on the Racin It Out podcast do not represent the views of anyone we have, might, or consider working for in the near future, medium-term future, long-term future, or sometimes that we haven't even imagined happening yet. Covers
I like the inflection you put on do not.
Just want to emphasize this is us, not them.
We do not. All right. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Racin' It Out. We'll see you next time.